Let's probe a little bit deeper on why active listening is so different than just listening. In the module, we identify 4 traits: selective attention, strength of attention, sustainment of attention, and putting aside internal conversations. Star, for you, which of those resonates with you when you're actively listening?
Selective attention. Sometimes in our team meetings we talk about things that I guess we've talked about before, so I kind of check out because I've heard it already. So.
Right. Is that a symptom of a poor agenda?
Could be.
Have you brought it up?
I think we all have brought it up that sometimes we talk about one thing and we
Regurgitate
keep
again and
harping
again.
on it.
Right.
But why do you talk about the same thing? Because it was not resolved?
I just think everybody has their own opinion, so certain people want to keep making their opinion known.
And it was
We're
not
not
enough
happy.
time to discuss and everyone to share their opinion? That's
Well-
why you have to be back to this?
Sometimes
Same
there is
discussion.
enough time, and some people just want to keep going back to it. So
Because it wasn't resolved to their satisfaction.
Exactly. I feel like they weren't
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah. What would you say, Tanisha, on these 4? When you're really paying attention. I mean, it's ironic. I think we invited 2 teachers today who are pretty good at listening, don't you think? I think you're both pretty good at listening.
Sustainment of attention.
Okay.
You commit to being in the conversation until it's over.
You commit to being in the conversation.
Until it's over. So
Right.
I definitely don't black out. You know, like
Yeah.
I try to listen and I try to until the person's done talking. You know, and I try to understand and try to listen. So
It's hard to do because it takes discipline.
yeah, it does.
Patience.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Right.
not easy.
It's like trying to run 2 miles, right? When you haven't, it takes a lot of energy to do it.
Yeah, it does.
Deborah, I know you talk a lot about how hard it is to listen. Which of these do you think you struggle with the most in active listening?
I mean, the commitment of being in the conversation till it's over, it goes hand in hand, I think, with the internal conversations.
Right.
Because I'm
Yeah.
already going, okay, this is where she's headed, and this is where I'm gonna, this is
You're
what I'm gonna
making
interject.
assumptions.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Ella?
Assumptions.
Yeah. Allison?
Internal.
The internal conversations.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's really hard to actively listen because it's a discipline you have to learn.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
question? I'll be
Yeah.
the devil's advocate. How long, I mean,
Can you listen?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about our environment, truly. And there are times when it is, and Star pointed it out as we were opening up this module, a parent wants to talk to you, yet you have to speak with, or supervise, or engage with the children. That's one example. The same thing is true of your co-teacher. You may have a deadline, you may have something you need to get done. You may just need to, you have an agenda that's different. Again, this is something we're gonna struggle with because I think we have to have a way to say, you know, I can't have this conversation right now.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what you're bringing up is there's a time and place to actively listen.
Absolutely.
When there's a fire going on,
It's not the time.
Well, there's always a fire going on, I guess is
Yeah.
my point. And this
Yeah.
active listening, and I think we need to do better at it, but I think we have to recognize too
Yeah.
that we have some barriers that we're gonna have to knock down
But let me give you a
first.
perfect example of where we need to actively listen.
Okay.
When the leadership team comes into a classroom to give feedback to a classroom, we need to actively listen to what they're saying. It should not, we need to make sure we're not going in and regurgitating kind of what we saw, but that we're actively engaged in listening to their perspective on the situation. That is a time which probably the most important is when you're working through issues.
Well,
in a
can I ask
classroom.
you something? This active listening, when I go to the definition, if I were reading this, if I were a perfect active listener, I would sit and just nod and really focus on what the person was saying. Now,
Just give a signs that you
Right.
are in the
Just
conversation.
In the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it doesn't say anything about asking the clarifying questions. Where does asking the clarifying questions come into active listening? Do we have to wait until someone is entirely finished with their statement?
Speech.
Yeah, speech.
Could be.
Yeah, or, you know, to me, you know, because I'm going to struggle with this.
Yeah,
I'm just going to
yeah.
tell you right out. To me, I want to be able to ask the questions because that's going to help me stay engaged, quite frankly.
Right.
It is. Because I don't have the patience to sit in a long.
Right, I
long
think-
And
conversation.
sometimes it feels like you are disrespectful and you interrupt a person, but because it's important to ask this question this moment.
So that you don't make those assumptions, right? So
I
where's the
think, I
place
think,
for
I
clarifying
think,
questions?
I
and
think we all
activities?
know when when we're abusing it. Now, if Star started talking for 15 minutes, am I going to sit and listen? No, because we know we're going to check out, right? Well, I would never worry
Well,
about
even
that
5
with you.
minutes, 3 minutes.
Right.
Can you just
Active
clarifying
listening.
questions are a part of active listening or
Yes.
not?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
Good.
But what it isn't is if Star's having a long conversation and we start talking about an unrelated topic and dismiss it without, that is not active listening.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.